refugees like them. What do you want to tell our viewers about what they can do and about what it means for you to do this work at this time?
Yeah, look, Americans have always been extremely generous for this, as we've seen from some of the viewers there, the people on your show. Any support they can. There is no magic pot of money, Terry, for UNICEF. It's all donor funded, and families need that support. So anything, you saw Emma there. She broke down after that in that same hospital. There are children in incubators, children on drips. It's very dangerous for us to try and get those children out.
It's just so wrong, to say the obvious, and it reaches out to all of us. And James Elder in Lviv, we want to thank you for the work you're doing there. Thank you for being with us. And we want to tell those of you at home, UNICEF, USA.org/ABC. And we can all do something. We can contribute, we can speak out, we can stand up and be counted in this world crisis right now. And we thank you for watching. ABC News Live will be right here in the days ahead, along with our other ABC News platforms, bringing you the very latest on the crisis in Ukraine, from the destruction that's going on there every day to the stories of survival and hope, the people and the families impacted by the ongoing, devastating war in Europe.
Civilians from besieged cities in Ukraine is becoming more dire in what the UN now calls the fastest growing refugee crisis in Europe since World War II. Two sources with the mayor's office in the southern port city of Mariupol say the Russians have broken another ceasefire, shelling the area as families try to flee. This just one day after the Ukrainians say the Russians broke a previous ceasefire meant to help people escape Mariupol and another southern city. Western officials say it is part of Vladimir Putin's increasing attempts to break Ukrainian morale by striking civilian targets. We have also obtained disturbing new video. The footage shows an explosion near civilians trying to flee a city outside the Ukrainian capital of Kyiv. More than 1.5 million Ukrainians are now estimated to have escaped the fighting. The UN also reporting more than 360 civilians have been killed in Ukraine, at least 25 of them children. We do want to bring in a senior investigative reporter, Aaron Kotursky. Aaron, the World Health Organization says it has confirmed several attacks on healthcare facilities in Ukraine. UK Defense Intelligence saying attacks like these are an effort to break Ukrainian morale. How are Ukrainians responding?
We've seen some really disturbing scenes in recent hours, in fact, of attacks on civilians that were trying to escape. We know schools have been caught on the fire, hospitals, as you mentioned. And the Ukrainians, if their spirit is trying to be broken by this Russian assault, the Ukrainian President Vladimir Zelensky is trying to really build them up, because he's on social media or he goes on TV from his undisclosed secure location to say the Ukrainian spirit is going to lead to victory. It is going to take more than spirit, however, Deirdre, because we have also seen in recent hours some new movements of Russian forces, new missile launches on a western city between Kyiv and where I am here in Lviv, drawing new positions for the Russians. And the president said today he thinks the next target is going to be Odessa, the historic port. And if successful there, that's where the Russians really could start to isolate Ukraine from the Black Sea. It's an economic stranglehold because it's such an important shipping route for the country's trade. So at this hour, we're seeing Russian forces still in Mariupol, and then in Kherson, and then perhaps down toward Odessa. We're also seeing this rocket fire or missile fire on Vinnytsia in the heading toward the western central part of the country, where the airport was fired upon and where the Russians say a Ukrainian military base was struck. And then above the capital in Irpin is where civilians have been fired upon trying to flee. Just outside the capital, a little to the east, in Kharkiv, the second largest city, that's encircled. And so you can start to piece together potential routes for the Russians to use, Deirdre, to try and attack the capital and topple the government.
Aaron Katersky, thank you so much. Absolutely amazing reporting. Thank you. The head of the UN's refugee agency is in Poland, touring a refugee reception center where thousands of people are arriving in cars, buses, and on foot. He tells ABC News he thinks the crisis is going to get worse unless the fighting stops.
The stories of those journeys are very hard. A great deal of trauma and psychological impact, which we often see in refugee crises, but it's particularly acute when people flee from war, from active war.
ABC's Phil Lipoff has more on the refugee crisis from Poland.
4-year-old Timka giggling, running down the hall of a hotel in Lublin, Poland, 375 miles from his home in Kyiv, where just days ago he was hiding in a basement with his mom and cousins as the Russians attacked his town, describing what he was seeing. His mother, Tatiana, is a florist, living with beauty every day, suddenly taking this video in the basement. She says it was hard to hear, little Timka cowering under a blanket saying, "Let's go, Mom, let's run away." And so she did, with Timka, her sister, and their children, a dark and bumpy bus ride. Eventually getting to the border and into Poland, finally arriving in Lublin and reuniting with her sister Oksana, who we've been following for days. Timka's 5-year-old cousin Anna was in that shelter too. They're bonded now by so much more than just family. They have seen and heard the same horror. Anna's way of expressing it, this picture, a man with a tank and helicopters above. We ask who that man is. She answers. Putin? Not too long ago, this was Anna in her classroom, reciting a poem about her country. Lives changed forever, trying to hold on to any hope. For Timka and Anna, that's Chip, their dog, who made the trip to safety with them. A reminder of home and the way it should be. Tatiana, though, will need more than Chip to smile again. Her husband is fighting the Russians. She says we're in a foreign land. We don't have a place to live. We're full of fear about whether we even have a future.
Completely understandable. The kids, at least the two you just saw in that story, Timka and Anna, we all hope they're too young, 4 and 5, to grow up and remember what happened at this point in their lives. But we've spoken to so many other families with children who are 7, 8, 10, 13, 19. Those kids are most definitely going to remember this war and how they were displaced from their country and the cruelty that they saw in their country. This is a man-made crisis that is going to have a profound effect on children in ways that we really don't even understand right now. Certainly their parents don't either. I want to mention one more quick thing, because we have been here for 2 weeks, and for the better part of a week, we were just talking to refugees and seeing them come to this country and try to figure out what happens next. The Polish government set up more than 120 of these reception centers, and refugees have been going. We're now getting an idea of what's happening there. Tatiana and her family went to a refugee center not far from here, and they have, among other things, a list of flats in the area, even homes, that people are offering to refugees. And within a couple of hours of our discussion with them, they were placed in a home. Someone is picking them up tomorrow and driving them 300 miles, and they'll be able to stay in this home, not sure how long, but better than a hotel and better than not knowing where they're going to stay. Deidre?
Phil Lipoff in Poland, thank you so much. ABC News Live, continuing coverage of the war in Ukraine. We'll return in a moment. Please stay with us.